this meeting to order at 6 o'clock tonight. And to start the meeting, I'm going to read something that we did last year about the quorum. The select board meetings are open business meetings for the duly elected members to facilitate town business. Members of the public are not only allowed, but are encouraged to attend. During meetings, the board, and when called upon, the members of the public will engage in civil discussion of town matters. Personal comments are not welcome, and personal attacks are not allowed. In March of 2024, this was read and is being reread again in 2025. It's my sincere hope that we can all conduct town business in a professional and kind manner. Thank you. We'll go on to the meeting. We're going to approve the minutes of April 8th. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second. Nick? Rob. Okay. Open for discussion, folks.
I don't have any issue.
Katie, remind me, you're the one that made the motion about the grant application? I know you abstained from voting, but
I think they had that.
I couldn't remember. Okay, that was my only question. Anything from you, Rob?
Nope.
Okay, so we're ready for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, GMP, and I think we have Tim Jones.
Yes, great, thank you so much.
Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Connie, for having me tonight. I'm here informally. Again, just first of all, thank you for the town's partnership over the last couple of years. As many of you know, we've been heavily in construction out in the State Forest Road area, and also done quite a bit of activity along Route 30 rebuilding. And we were here a couple of years ago to start this. Our program basically is attacking a couple of the worst performing circuits in our system. The EJG7 is the circuit that covers the Townshend area, so certainly has been a very primary focus of ours the last couple of years. We have 2 years, basically until September of 2026, to get these circuits hardened and sort of prove our concept to the state, which we designed and executed on these projects strategically that are going after a circuit that is least reliable, most amount of customers, severe outage histories, those types of things that we're trying to solve. And we trust all the work that we've done the last couple of years has certainly improved the reliability in the community. We still have a handful of projects in Townshend that we need to get to complete the work in Townshend. And the goal by the end of this calendar year is to have that circuit completely hardened. And that's Townshend, and also include some of your neighboring towns, Wardsboro. I'm headed there tonight after this meeting. So what I wanted to do tonight is just come back, reintroduce myself. We don't have any formal projects that are finished design right now, but we will next month. And those will be a combination of the same type of work that we've been doing the last couple of years. There'll be some work out here on the roadside, which will be traditional rebuild of our existing overhead, but we also have some other opportunities that we have identified on some of our back roads. So East Hill Road, Plum Road, some of the other roads, Grafton Road, Wyndham Hill in West Townshend. Those are paved roads, so we see an opportunity where it's paved and dirt to do some sort of combination of our overhead and underground. But certainly a road like East Hill, another very challenging road, plenty of customers there, long miles, tough to access. Again, a little bit tailor-made for the concept that we've proven out over the last couple of summers out in the State Forest Road area by direct burying our power and getting basically all the joint utilities into the same corridor with us, and get rid of these cross-country challenging corridors that are sort of a hallmark of the area here from prior service territory. So that's, again, I appreciate the opportunity to come in. So I'm not a stranger a month from now when I come back with a few projects, but it's also a great time for us to take any feedback from the town on opportunities Certainly, I think we can note success in terms of reliability, but there's always opportunities for us to do better. And I know we had some challenges along the way the last couple of years. And again, can't thank the town enough for sticking with us. And that helped us move on to the other towns in the neighboring areas as well, and share those experiences. And but again, just welcome any feedback that you do have now. If you wanted to hold it, well, you brought back real projects, so you could ask a little bit more specificity. But we do, as our practice, is work with the roads department first, go out, do some windshield touring of those projects, explain what we're aiming to do. Again, take that feedback. This would work here, that won't work here. Things that we did out in the state forest where maybe we could have put cabinets in different areas, or it's a really challenging snow winter. Maybe we hadn't had that much snow to move in the last couple of years, and all of a sudden something that looked like it would really kind of be a good fit becomes a snow storage area or something that was buried. So again, those are the opportunities we see, just the physical, how did it hold up? But certainly any experience that the town could share with us would be great.
Okay, Connie has 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one is, we have a paving project starting this year. I think it's gonna be summer or fall. It is Route 35 from East Hill down
Deer Valley, right?
to Deer Valley, maybe even a little longer.
Okay.
I don't know if that's an area you were looking at, but that is a project that is being initiated.
Well, great, and I think that's something that we can look at when we head out into the field. We certainly have work planned up that way, up above Gray's Cottage, all the way back up into Cambridgeport as well. So there'll be a lot of activity we're looking at and building our way up to Grafton.
Second question I had is, I don't want to dredge up bad stuff, but are you using the same contractors that you used a couple years ago? Because I think that was our concern, if I remember.
It was part of the challenge. There's no question about the line contractor. I think the traffic control contractor. We have made some improvements there, I think, and they are still a line construction company that we use. I think they've made some improvements as well, but we do have other line contractors that are part of that mix now. So we probably have 5 or so reputable line contractor firms that we're going to be using for both overhead and underhead.
So it's on your radar.
It's on the radar. Right.
And you can see that we're being taped, so I'm sure people will call in with questions, comments,
Sure.
and we'll pass them on to you.
Please do.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Then we'll pop back up to additions and deletions, our old business, and common tree care we'll deal with down below. Then correspondence from Leland and Gray Players. It was basically a very nice student written, for those that don't have it.
There is 2 packets.
Thank you
on
note
tables,
that came from the Leland and Gray Players. They had a very successful play. They went to the state to win first place in the state, and they only got an honorable mention. But they were very impressed to be asked to attend the finals. So, okay, we have warrants. Katie, our chair, would you, Rob is reading them now.
When I can find it. Make a motion to pay the warrants, starting with number 1.
It's on the back side of that page with the big sign. Oh, no.
No, it's not. Why don't I read them then if they're eliminated there?
I apologize, Rob, it's not in there.
Starting with number 1, payroll in the amount of $13,896.84. Number 2, payroll tax in the amount of $5,890.60. Number 3, general fund in the amount of $8,715.34. Number 4, highway fund in the amount of $3,861.79 for a total of $32,364.57.
I'll second.
Any discussion, folks? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Four have it. Okay, then we are on to the highway. Jeremy?
Springtime is here finally. We got lucky this year with the very minimal road bud. Actually none, really. We started grading this week. Guess Rob and I went down and checked the right of way down on Plum Road and determined that the boulders are in the town right of way. So I don't know what we want to do about that. So
Karen?
How did you determine that?
from a map that Rob had,
There's, in the survey, that's a 2-rod road from Route 30 to the three-way intersection of Sawdust Alley and Plum Road.
Mhm.
And the travel portion of the road is 22 feet. So your right-of-way is going from the middle of that road and should be 16 feet, 6 inches each way. So if we go 16 feet, 6 inches one way, we're up into the woods and into the trees across the road from your house.
Mhm.
And if we go 16 feet, 6 inches the other way, it goes exactly to your lilac bushes that are in front of your house, between your house and Plum Road, and then goes straight out to Route 30. And those rocks are approximately 4 to 5 feet off of the travel portion of the road, which to me, I look at it and I don't see any problem with the rocks being in the right of way. I could see going down there and sliding the one that got broke back up onto it, and past that, I would think it's kind of a, you know, if you don't want them to get bumped next year, just put a stick in the ground with a little bit of a marking tape on the top of it, or bring it to Jeremy's attention next year and we'll get it done. But it just would, with a little bit of an indicator that it's there, it would, because the graders operating all over the place. They, you know, after you're sitting in there for 8 hours, you're pretty much in the zone. And it's like, if you don't see something under the snow, you're pretty much pushing snow.
Yeah, my markers weren't high enough. That's it.
yeah, that was it. I mean, we had more snow than we normally get, so everything was buried. And it's tough when you're winging. You can't see
Those
them.
lilacs are literally planted right at like 16 feet, 6 inches
Mhm.
from this, you know, center of the road. And I mean, we didn't get out micrometers and
Yeah.
carry on. We brought a tape measure, but the road bed, the travel portion of the road that the town is maintaining is 22 feet wide. And that's 22 feet at the corner, you know, just from where it necks down from Sawdust Alley and Plum Road, all the way down to where it goes into the open part of the field where the turnaround is.
Yeah.
So it's not, it doesn't get smaller or wider, it's just 22 feet of maintained dirt road, and then the right of way goes off.
Did you see the survey map that I submitted?
Yeah. There's pretty much everything was there. It had,
It describes it as a 33-foot right of way.
that's what a 2-rod road,
2-rod road.
16 foot 6 inches.
Because when I hear 50 feet, that would put the right of way inside my house.
So,
But where did you get
if you get into it,
From somebody in the town.
if you get into that survey, it'll show you that it goes to a 3-rod road just at the uphill.
So it does?
Plum, yes, right at that corner, it goes, transfers to a 3-rod road. And then Route 30 is a 4-rod.
Right. Yeah, well, I got all of that, okay. I was just not sure, I don't want to take up too much time, but I thought that you were, I was being told that it's a 50-foot right-of-way on Plum Road at my house. And I'm like, okay, well, that puts it in the house. That puts one side of the right-of-way inside the house. Which, that's not a good deal there.
So,
Fortunately, they were wrong.
that isn't the situation, and whoever planted the lilacs in the front had a pretty good idea what was going on, because they're planted
They're
right there, right at the very end.
Yeah, Mr. Gould put those stones, whatever, rocks boulders
No,
underneath
he's
them.
talking about the lilacs.
Yeah, right, but it was, they're on the same
Yeah,
line.
the lilacs and the rocks are all kinda in a line.
So, but I don't, actually, y'all gave me an extra boulder. You just split that one like a potato, and I'll just find another place to put it. So,
I have a question. If they're in the right of way and we do hit them and it breaks our plow, is that a likelihood?
Do you know how much stuff could break that plow in the right of way throughout the whole town?
So we don't care about these boulders?
Well, it's
I'm just asking.
about the rocks. I think the rocks are more there to keep people from turning off and getting turned around right in their dooryard.
yeah, we used to have a lot of tracks in that yard, so.
I have no issue with them where they are. They've never been an issue in the past, in the 6 years I've been here. I think that's the first time we've had to wing that road in probably 5 years anyways.
There is this one tree right across from our garage that's taking a beating. Even 11 foot up, it's getting hit by trucks.
There's a lot of trees around
Yeah,
town. that
and
take a
those
beating.
are just growing and growing and growing, you know. And I think it'd be a good idea if we can take a few of those out. Because I know that I once observed, I don't know, an 18-wheeler went up there, or a trash truck, I forget which it was, and he came back down and he hit the tree 11 foot up, or 10 or 11 foot up. And I'm like, nah, and it's right inside the power lines. So, and it was interesting what the man, do you know when the power lines are going, when they're doing work up on Plum, going up to Plum, and
The guy that could tell you.
I don't think they know yet
they don't know?
either.
That's why.
Like, it sounded like they might have a plan by the end of the month,
Yeah.
by the end of next month.
I just want to know if I have to be here. So,
I think they'll alert you by now.
we got a mail, but no dates or anything, so.
I did too, and they said there'd be more follow-up later.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Okay, Jeremy, anything else for the highway?
No.
The treasurer has given us, I won't read all of them, but it's a statement of the CDs. Anybody's entitled to see them. If anybody wants, I can read all 5 of them. It gives us the name of the people the CDs in, the balance, the rate of interest, and the maturity dates. So this is here for part of the public record. And then her usual statement is how much we have in the bank available. And the closing in the account is $575,641.37. And then we have our normal sweep account of $30,000. Okay, the town clerk, the report is for the first 2 months in April. 2 weeks, thank you, first 2 months in April, it felt that way. She brought in $1,379.50. And then we have in here before the chair action items. Has the board gotten a chance to read over this? How should we attack this, Connie, do you think? What's your suggestion?
Well, certainly there's ones that are blank and there's ones that are ongoing. I would focus on the blank items and the ones that say ongoing about what the status is.
Okay, well, we just talked about Ed's boulders, so we'll check that one off. Town pit logging plan, right, contacting Tim Wharton, and I think that had happened,
That
correct?
happened 2 Wednesdays ago. Jeremy and I met with Tim Morton and went over kind of what Jeremy's needs are gonna be for the town and a little bit of his suggestion, and we basically came up with the idea that the logging doesn't need to happen right off for any crushing and stuff to go on this year. Let Jeremy has some stuff he needs to get done before that, come back, revisit it at the end of the summer, and then go from there with the idea of putting it out to bid and hopefully getting somebody for a winter project or a spring project.
Good.
So it's in the works. Tim is on board with us. He's willing to help us through the, give us at least a list of contacts that he has for, the bidding process, and then willing to mark out the perimeter of what would be cleared and go through the contracting part of it. So we're on board for the end of the summer to come up with an absolute set in stone plan and get it done.
Thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome.
Okay, the next open one is Ally Evans is going to write John Evans a thank you note for his time on the planning commission. And we, the select board, are going to sign that tonight if people choose to. Appointments are ongoing and they're on the agenda. Ethics committee, all board. What, do you want to speak to that, Connie?
I think that may be on the discussion, but the last time we met, there was a question about whether or not an ethics committee was or should be created.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me the minutes from that? And we didn't actually create one. It was asked if we intended to create one, and Ally had said she would put it on the list, but we didn't actually motion and approve one.
So where do we stand now? Would we
We
think?
have to decide whether or not we want to create one.
Mhm. Does anybody want to speak to that?
Laura May, she was one of the ones that raised it.
Yeah, I have a letter here that I was going to read out that actually has that in the letter, but I can just, talk about the ethics committee.
Sure.
So basically, in the policy handbook, which everyone's supposed to get when they're on the select board, there's a policy about conflict of interest. And in that policy, Article 8, it says that each year the select board should select hopefully 10 volunteers, and then choose 5 of them to be on an ethics committee for the course of the year, so that if there are any problems concerning the townspeople on the select board, that an unbiased group of people could oversee it and decide whether it's something to be of concern. And I brought it up just because in the past, there has been behavior of the select board members that were definitely borderline problematic. And I don't know if that's going to continue on, but it would be nice to be able to have a group of people that townspeople could go to and address their concerns, because anything in the policy, any policy, I looked it up online, all policies for a town are legal and binding. So if you ignore these policies, it's at your own peril, because it can result in legal action. So it behooves everyone on the select board to familiarize themselves with the policies and to be careful what they do, because nobody wants to get into that. I certainly don't. So, and that's why I thought it would be good to get this going when I read that in the policy handbook, which I read pretty much completely. Didn't understand it all, but and it just seemed like a pretty wise thing to do.
My rebuttal to that would be, we are elected officials. Through the state statute, there's not a ton that can be done. And when you get into the ethics committee part of it, now you're gonna get into some mudslinging and the whole 9 yards, and it's like,
Well, that committee only would come into existence if there was a complaint. They would only come into existence
if
if,
complaint, it doesn't matter. There's not anything legally that you can do to basically get somebody out unless we commit like major crimes or
no,
something.
No, actually, there's new statutes in the state there, not to interrupt, but there's new statutes about ethics that have been brought up, that have been passed by the legislators. You have a choice to have an ethics board, or the complaints can go to the state, and the state will appoint an ethics committee to investigate all complaints.
I think, do we not have an ethics liaison?
Yep.
who is Connie.
But you could have an own in-house ethics committee, which I would highly recommend it to be like your board of authority, civil board of
Well, that's what I
authority,
was thinking. They
or some
probably
other
have a lot
people
of
that are
overlap.
not affiliated to be able to fill those roles.
You guys act like finding appointments for these people is just like,
No, we're having trouble.
It might not, it might.
No, I'm not saying that, I'm just letting you know what I've
what I'm
gone
getting
through.
to is we're gonna now come up with an ethics committee.
We
We've
didn't
already-
say that.
That's what we're discussing, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay, we didn't say that we were doing it today, but we're discussing whether we need it.
Right,
Okay, so let me continue.
okay.
So we have 5 different people that would be in an ethics committee. And then we have 5 different people that will be on the part where we're,
The website?
the website, well, you got the website, but then you also have the common, or the rental use or whatever, you know, somebody to operate that. And then you have liaison to the emergency management person and all these different things. And we're just coming up with more and more stuff with less and less people to work with, and it just does not make any sense. The state will cover it. If there's a major violation and somebody's doing something, bring it to the state. But we're gonna take and have a bunch of Barney Fifes that are gonna operate this ethics committee, and it's just gonna be like, come on. It's like, let's get real. We're gonna start whining about what's going on with ethics when it's like, let's just tend to what we need to tend to and stop digging in the brush for things that might be there and might not be there.
May I say something?
Yes, now I'm off the floor.
Thank
This
you.
is a conversation.
Thank you.
I speak, you speak. Fire away.
I think, my personal opinion is I think with Connie as the liaison and with the Board of Civil Authority, we would be okay. And then the state can interact from there. Connie, would you like to get the new regulations that Dale is referring to so that we have them in front of us?
I think she might have had it, she took her ethics training, if you had that part of that meeting, you should have gotten, you didn't get any of that?
Or you didn't do the training?
Maybe I didn't do something.
We'll connect.
So Connie will get those and then we can discuss further as needed. Okay, then we are on to fire alarm. Warren is not here. Glenn's here. Maybe he knows the fire alarm system, submitting a quote to the select board.
We
got
We
that
have
last
that.
meeting,
Okay,
We have the contract.
we have a
We have to sign
contract.
tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Nick, more information about Leaders Network survey.
I don't know what this is about.
Okay.
Some flyer.
Here's a flyer.
Okay, so we'll just put a question mark there.
I can find the flyer for that.
Great Cottage Hospital, communication is ongoing. Review of the procurement document, Rob Wright, and was gonna look into that, and he and I are gonna look at 2 dates, but if you want to speak to that, Rob?
I read a part of it here a little while ago. I think there's some stuff that still needs to be dialed in with it.
Okay.
So we'll put ongoing.
Okay, draft for town hall is in the packet. Cemetery commission correspondence to the treasurer, you completed that, Connie?
Oh, if it says completed, I did it.
Okay. Everything else is completed except the draft for the common care, and that's in this packet.
Right, I made
So-
two for us to discuss.
Okay, so I think we're finished with that. And now we're on to appointments. We have, Connie, do you want to leave this since you've had conversations with people and I haven't?
This chart that you're looking at, if somebody has agreed to continue doing the job or has expressed an interest in the appointment, their name is in the interested person column. If there is a blank, it's either because they said no, or I have failed to get through them. Like I haven't had a conversation with Rob about his position, so there's a few that I haven't gotten through. So we can go through them if you want, but there is a bunch that people have not stepped up.
So So how shall we do this? Shall we appoint them as we go, or go through them and then appoint them at the end? What's the best way?
What I would do is I would first ask Rob if he wants to continue in his positions. I would put his name in here, and then I would do one vote to appoint everybody unless there's a concern about a particular individual. And then knowing that we still have appointments we have to fill.
Which name, where would you like us to
I
put
think
your
Rob was a
name?
tree warden,
He
and
was.
he was another person.
He was another
I was
person.
gonna say,
Wayer of Coal.
only on Saturday nights.
You were two, though.
Were you Wayer of Coal?
No, Inspector of Timber.
Okay.
Tree warden and
I'd
inspector.
gladly do the inspector of timber and I would do the tree warden, but I'm not doing the tree warden as a co-tree warden with Doc, so you guys can
Nobody
figure out
else is,
whatever you
so
wanna do from
we
there.
can cross that one out.
Single tree warden.
You are a single tree warden. And where is the inspector of timber?
It's under the Howard Legacy. Now, I think Eileen's gonna do the Howard Legacy again. I just haven't heard, so I have to go back around.
I would love to do it, but I don't think I can do money things, so.
So my suggestion is, at least for the folks who have said that they have an interest, if everyone's okay with it, we could do one vote for the current, and then we can come back at the next one, and hopefully I will have some more names.
I'll be a fence viewer.
Great.
Seems like something I could do.
Hey.
You get some weird questions.
Well, you might will answer those first.
Yes.
Not like
I'll
you
follow
have
where
any
you-
questions as a board member. Great.
And then just to make sure, because it's only in the comments, but not interested, that Rick Nashke will be good planning commission.
Yeah, and I don't think that,
It's the only open one this year.
right, so I do think we have to appoint Rick. Yeah, and I know he's interested, so
Yeah.
I'll put his name in.
I was really interested, but I haven't seen him. I wanted to ask John Evans if he wanted to be the keeper of the common, but I haven't seen him.
When did we have a keeper of the common?
So it was created last year.
So
After the
this is
meeting.
back to one of my things with Ally, where it's like another one of these like things that has
Well,
come in 1 year.
We were getting
Keeper of the common,
I
We
like
were
the
getting
name.
feedback that there was a lot of deferred maintenance going on the common with the different things, and maybe there was trash left after there was events there and things like that, and I think that's what led to it after having a committee to put the gazebo in, and then just trying to keep up with all of the issues that could happen. That's fine.
Yes. I have not specifically spoken
so
with
we're on
her,
to
but
liaison
I
for
do think
emergency
Irvin wanted to
management,
be, so it can be
Keep
appointed
it
until
within
he tells us otherwise.
second forest
That's a question.
warden.
You want to be a keeper?
No.
Oh.
What's that?
Ethics committee.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian's hand up.
Brian, I didn't see you behind the boxes there.
Connie has me at 911 fire department.
Oh, yeah,
You can
you're
put it
right,
down.
Brian.
Yeah.
And I was just saying that I haven't spoke with Irv Stoll, but I think he'd be interested, so I think we should appoint him, and then if he wants to step
And in
down.
that same vein, why don't we put Eileen down?
Okay.
Have we heard that Craig is against the energy? He was against.
Craig has said he's not interested in
Okay.
doing the cell tower or the energy coordinator.
Okay.
So. Any further questions, comments? So,
You can put Sean in there for layer of coal if you want. And nominate him. He's at Keyway with the elementary school.
Oh, wow.
I'll vote on his behalf.
okay, and so the people that are here, Sherwood was approved last meeting. The rest of the people are being appointed tonight unless, do we make a motion to do this?
Make a motion to approve the list of appointments for 25-26.
Second.
And any further discussion?
I guess guess we just have to remove the ethics committee one because we did the motion and approved that, and we just had a short discussion about it.
No.
Well, we don't have a
Except for
committee.
the fact that
That's just the liaison.
anything blank is not being approved. We're approving the people, not the,
Right, but when we added things to this list, we motioned and approved them.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
right. I didn't see the committee, but
Yeah, and we didn't do
so
that with that.
are
So
you
I'm scratching that one?
scratch the ethics committee, not the liaison. Under energy coordinator.
Okay, so this one stays. And then this one goes, okay.
So Connie, would you not be the liaison, the ethics liaison anymore?
No, she is.
It's got
So that way I have to do
No,
some
you have to
work on
have
that.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, that's why
That
she
was-
is one, but I didn't know if she was saying we need to find a different.
Did we have other people that were on one, I mean, are we going with a town events coordinator or not?
I wasn't here for the.
It's
Are
on
we
here.
going with a
That
town
was
events
decided.
coordinator or not?
Should we?
I thought that that was approved, that's why it's on the list.
I wasn't here for the meeting that she made the presentation, so I don't know.
But I can check that, but I thought that that was,
That was my recollection as well.
yeah, I think that that was voted on at one of the first meetings,
Where's the minute? 2 weeks ago.
yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor. What does it say, Connie?
The motion to approve the appointments, I think Nick said.
So if we, with the events coordinator, if that was the case, wasn't there a group of people that were interested in it?
Well, it's not a committee, it's an individual. She mentioned she had some
That there was-
people that were willing to help her, but,
There was only one person that applied
Yeah.
for the appointment, but she had
oh,
people
right.
that would help her.
Yeah.
There have been only a couple of emails of people who asked questions. But once their questions were answered, they didn't come back and say, I'm interested in being appointed. So this is all the names of people who have said, I'm interested.
Shall we introduce Tom now that he's online?
Is it-
Hi, Tom. Connie, would you like to give a little blurb about Tom, that you have met him on the phone?
I spoke with Tom on the phone.
Who's
And-
Tom?
Tom is Tom, I'm Caffrey, if I say that correctly.
Oh, yes, you did.
Is interested in being appointed to health officers. And he has some experience, some medical experience in his career, and that's why he's interested in doing it.
Any questions for Tom? Okay, so back to the motion on the floor.
Motion to approve the list of names for appointments.
Okay, it's been seconded and we have discussions.
Could you just make sure that's the wording? We're
Yes.
approving the names.
Yeah.
And we have a second and we've had discussion. Are we ready for a vote? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so it's 3-1. Okay, moving along to
This is the contract for the fire.
and
Fire
we're not
alarm
gonna
system.
do a grant coordinator because we
At the
did
end
it,
of the month.
it is the end of the
Oh,
month
right.
now, but we did it last month.
We did it
I
last.
can just give an update on the roof.
Okay,
Okay, they started the work today, they weren't supposed to start it until May 5th, but they started today. They found some slate, about half you said,
yep,
that, is usable, and they're gonna be working on the roof today and tomorrow, well, they already finished for today, and then tomorrow, it shouldn't take longer than that. And that's it.
good, thank you. Okay, so now we are on to the sales agreement to replace the existing fire panel. And that fire panel is at the town garage. It's the partial fire alarm, right? The
Brain of it, I
The brain
guess.
panel that we spoke about last meeting. And,
And it was approved,
and it was approved,
so this is just signed with the town.
so. Okay,
But should there be a motion to have you sign?
is it here tonight?
It's
Yeah.
right in the packet.
Okay, I guess we can have a motion, that's one more motion in the world.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Ally Evans to sign the fire alarm contract on behalf of the board.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Um,
All those opposed? Okay, so three, I probably should have abstained since I'm
Are you
sorry.
saying?
Yeah, and this is the contract, and then we are on to Jeremy again in that, we're talking about the trash compactor, expenses.
Yes. Did you print out that email? We're looking at about $2,500 to replace 8 rims and 4 tires with mounting and balancing and disposal of old tires. So
That's at one vendor, and then Ally called another vendor and got a close.
Cost slightly different, but you like working with Pete's better?
we've been using Pete's for years.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, the
they-
difference was minuscule.
Yeah, they're all pretty comparable. Pete's is, it's local, or not local, but it's right across the river.
Well, they're not too far apart.
No, they're not. They're not.
but-
I mean, I think we have used Chesterfield for a few things once in a while, but I think we just use Pete's because it's closer.
Mhm. Okay, so what do we need for that? We need a
So
motion
the board everybody should be looking at the quote if they have any questions.
My only concern, and I'm sure it's yours too, is that we put $2,500 on it and it stops working next week. And then we have a chunk of metal that has new tires on it. So, and that's the worry.
That could happen with anything.
Yeah, I think we have to put new tires on.
Well, I'm not saying we don't, I'm saying it's a worry.
It's a gamble that we cannot risk. Because
It's the
if
nature
something
of-
happens to that truck going down the road, the tire comes off or, wipes somebody out.
Well, and.
It's
and-
$2,500 now or millions in a lawsuit.
And
So-
you said their licenses depend on
Yeah.
accidents, et cetera.
Exactly.
And this is just what, we're continuing with the current trash system, we have to
We have to.
maintain the current system in order for it to function. This is all coming out of the general fund too, right? This is not out of our highway budget?
This
Out
is,
of
no,
the budget?
the compactor has its own.
Exactly,
General
that's-
And
fund.
we do, the
The one-
line
yeah.
item has money.
exactly.
Next year,
We're
it'll
ready
be in
for
the
that, so.
highway budget, this
Mhm.
year it's in the general fund.
So do we need a motion for it?
Yep.
Do you think that the price is pretty firm? Yeah.
Not to exceed
I
that.
just told them to get me the cheapest tire. Rims are rims.
Yeah,
Tires, I just told them the cheapest they could get me.
Yeah.
Because the truck doesn't put it, there's no miles going on the truck.
Make a motion to have Jeremy bring the trash truck down to Pete's Tire Barn and have the tires put on and have the price to not exceed $2,376.
it's the
That was,
418.
It's the one above the printed one, that was Chesterfield.
Wow.
If you look at the printed one.
$2,418.84.
correct.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we are on to a road name issue.
Helen's fine if you want to.
Hi, Helen. I'll explain what I know and Helen can correct me if I'm wrong. There's a road that we have named Schoolhouse, 2 separate words, Schoolhouse, that's what the road says. And the 911 maps have it as Schoolhouse, 1 word. And there's two residents on Schoolhouse Road, and one says it's Schoolhouse, 2 words, and one says it's Schoolhouse, 1 word. And one resident is concerned that if there's a 911 call, a fire call, package delivery, that they won't get theirs unless it's the right name. The separation. Am I correct, Helen?
So at the last meeting, it was directed to have Helen look into the issue.
And Helen said the select board has the right to name the road either Schoolhouse or Schoolhouse. and either name is fine with the 911 database. To make the decision is, if the decision is to make it schoolhouse, there would need to be a new sign to replace the current one. So the select board would tell you, correct, Helen, about their decision?
Yeah, once you make the decision, I'll let E911 people know whether they need to change the records or not.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to leave the Schoolhouse Road as it is.
With
Which is
two words.
2 words.
Okay,
Just
I'll
as the
second.
sign says.
Helen, when we were looking
Yeah.
at the new Wyndham regional maps, did you notice how it was put on there?
I don't remember I think it was 2 words,
Okay.
but I can check, right?
Are you checking, Jared?
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter, because actually they're taking edits right now, so I think it's fine, we
Okay.
can find out and then I can put that
Okay.
on the list of edits.
So we have a motion to keep it schoolhouse, 2 words.
It's 2 words on the Wyndham regional map.
Okay.
And then the only follow-up, if we keep it as 2 words, is then just make sure that one resident who's using it as 1 word uses it as 2.
I think we'll ask Connie to
And then
send
911.
to communication
Yeah.
to both residents, maybe that we
Yeah.
had this discussion and it's going to be schoolhouse. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Alright,
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, and now we are on to paving bids. Connie, who's gonna open the bids? Does the clerk open them?
Okay, so just a reminder, we opened bids at the last meeting, and Jeremy and I were directed to go seek clarification of the bids. We contacted 4 companies that placed bids, or was it 3? 2 have responded, so there were 2 clarifications.
The first one is Basin Brothers. And the total is $142,887.
Did you hear that, Jeremy?
Sorry, what was that?
Just like in school, pay attention.
Okay.
$142,887.
That
That's
was
the basis.
it's basis.
Next one is Blacktop. Total price for the project, $193,747. Quick breakdown. Basin Brothers has cold planing 2-inch depth at $1.65. Unit price equals $17,242.50, and then the paving at 1,230 tons at $102.15 per ton, coming out to $125,644.50 for the total of $142.87. Blacktop has the milling at 57,750 and the tonnage of Blacktop at 1,252 tons. Per ton price of $108.60, and that comes out with a total price of $193,747.
Okay, so
I'd like to make a motion to accept Basin Brothers bid for not to exceed $142,887.
Second.
okay, any discussion? Jeremy?
how do we feel with Basin Brothers?
Basin Brothers? They're basically the company that's been doing all our paving for the last 5 or 6 years, so.
You're gonna make sure they do the aprons right this time?
Yes, they are. It was all stated in the RFP.
Okay, any further discussion?
Did you get a second?
Yeah, Robert.
Rob?
Any further discussion? All those in favor of awarding to VIII Brothers?
Aye.
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 Opposed, nobody, so 4 has it. Okay, now we have, greater bids.
Or offers?
Here,
First one is from Kimba Enterprise in Canaan, New Hampshire. And they have a bid of $20,000. Next one is White Wolf Trucking and Excavation out of Washington, Mass. And they would like to bid $16,201. And that's White Wolf again. They were serious about their bid.
Same bid twice?
What's that?
Same bid twice?
Yeah. 16,201. Crane Equipment out of Clarendon, Vermont. And they bid $17,333.
okay.
The next one is MT3 Unlimited in the amount of $16,975.
So. Okay, one.
This one's been opened.
What happened was that came in a little while ago. Kurt Teets, because he didn't say, I don't think, or he inadvertently opened it.
That isn't a sealed bid then. It's from Travis Galt Materials out of Woodstock, Vermont, in the amount of $16,500.
Is the first one Kimba or Timba?
KIMBA Enterprise.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Kimba Enterprises bid for the grader in the amount of $20,000.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any discussion?
I do have questions.
Huh?
Kind of wait for discussion.
Oh,
Just voting.
yeah, you're right.
Connie had something.
Connie has a question.
Jeremy?
Yeah.
The process by which to accept the bid, I just want to make sure I understand what we're doing there. And then, is there a recommendation as to where the money goes? It can either go, I assume it can go into the highway fund budget, or it could go into the highway reserve, I think. So, the question is, where would be like, and given that there's a proposal being discussed tonight, we may want to think about where we put the highway equipment proposal.
Can it go to the highway reserve without being brought to the voters, to the taxpayers?
I mean, I can check that, but no, you can't.
No, you can just put it in the account, I believe.
Once it's created, the reserve is created.
Yeah, once it's created, you can.
Yeah.
The only thing is you can't spend out of it without having voters' approval for more years' payments and stuff.
Right.
You can only spend what you have in it.
I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go out on a little bit of a limb, which is, I think that we have been doing a really good job trying to stay within the highway budget that was approved for fiscal year 2025. Fingers crossed, we may come in with no or small deficit. And so I am hoping that we don't have a deficit that we really have to deal with, a substantial one. There is a proposal to talk about how are we going to view the future highway equipment, particularly with the Zero Emission Act that has been passed. So it may be that we won't have a big deficit that we have to deal with, and maybe we want to put the money for future equipment.
Can we do both? Can we keep it in the general highway fund and then at
roll
the
it
end of the
into-
year roll it into the?
If there's a surplus.
My understanding from Darlene at Nemrick, she does not generally believe in that practice. She had asked that may behoove us to get a legal opinion from VLCT, but she doesn't generally agree with rolling something that the voters haven't approved of. But we could get an opinion on that.
I make a motion that we take the 20,000 from the sale of the old grader and deposit that into
We hadn't
the reserve
voted on the
account.
first motion.
We did.
Oh, we did.
We did?
We did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I skipped discussion, but we did.
Oh, right, okay. I'm
But
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I make a motion to take that money and move it into the highway infrastructure and equipment reserve account.
When if we get it?
The 20,000.
Yeah,
Well,
we don't have it
that
yet.
money.
So,
I second that.
okay, any further discussion? Have you ever heard of Kimba?
No, I have.
You have?
They've posted equipment sales
Okay.
and stuff before, but they mostly probably gonna use it.
Yeah.
He's from when I met with him yesterday, and he takes care. He contracts to a small town in northern New Hampshire. That's the reason he wants
Okay, good,
like 10 miles of road, I guess, something like that. Yeah.
good. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Now we're up to town hall use policy.
In your packet, you'll notice that there is the acting policy that we have been using for maybe a year now, or close to. I did include the old policy, just because this is an acting one, but it appears that the acting one has been working well.
Was the old one not working well?
The board decided to do
Another thing.
No, that was, remember Phoebe was the one that was rewriting the policy?
What, did she ever rewrite it?
She did write one, and then Kate Jansek took her draft and started working on one, and
So
then
that would be
Ally.
last year.
No, Phoebe was,
Kate Jansen was last year.
Kate Jansek, yeah, but,
Phoebe didn't apply anything to the town with her.
no, but the whole
stuff.
discussion has started a couple
the
of,
process started 2 years ago.
I can't remember what the specifics concerns were at the time of starting that.
Nobody knows.
The acting policy does seem to be working well, from what I can see.
Can I ask a question, or is that
Sure.
up for discussion?
No, sure, thank you for asking.
Is this the form that the people that are renting the spaces use when they rent it? I mean, has this always been the form that they sign and get when they utilize the
acting
space?
policy, I believe that is what they're using.
Okay.
And what are we supposed to be doing, deciding on a policy, Connie?
So.
The one that Olenka and I wrote isn't in there. I thought
Yeah.
this is the,
So
what's
is
this?
anything missing?
What is this?
Because I don't see anything about like the different fees for town hall comment and when we might waive those fees.
Oh, yeah, this is the one that Olenka.
Yeah, under the trailer.
And,
Like I see it has something for fee deposit and donation, but it
and
doesn't.
that's where we said last time that we should put the amounts that the board decides in. And are there gonna be different amounts for a resident and a non-resident?
Yeah.
Those are the things kind of up in the air.
But that should be decided before we settle a policy.
Right. But are we deciding on that? Come to a meeting of the minds, and then, I can't decide that by myself,
No.
so. Do we decide that tonight and then vote on it?
Decide the
The
fees.
fees. Okay, we're stalled.
We have been stalled on this one for a while.
Yeah,
Going on 3 years, isn't it?
yeah.
What's the board's flavor on this? Would you like to suggest some fees now? Have time to think about it, put them in stone and approve it or disapprove it? Or how do we want to proceed?
Are we, which one of these two?
This acting one that's one page front and back
Okay.
Is the new one.
Is the one that's been currently in use.
So when we have charged people, how do we come up with those numbers?
So we have it spelled out.
I believe in Kate's
No, I don't see
draft that we voted in, it had that structure of the fee.
Yeah,
Well, would you like to stall this again, another meeting and go over
I
it?
don't
think
wanna
it-
vote on this.
I-
Because
yeah.
this does not, I think we still need maybe 2 people to work on it and finalize. I will jump in.
Okay.
And make some species.
And Olenka has done it also, would you like to work with Olenka?
Sure.
Okay,
I'll take on the policy.
thank you. Okay, so passing over that
When you're
job,
looking at it, look in the old one and figure out what was wrong with the old one that really needed to be
It
changed.
doesn't really look that different.
There wasn't
It's just
anything
shorter.
wrong with the old one.
It's just shorter, which is fine, easier to read, but
Nobody wanted to charge the fee.
and the
That was what was wrong
comment,
with
the
the old
comment
one.
and the town hall are all on one sheet.
yeah, yeah.
So that you don't have lots of things floating around.
So,
Any other discussion about that, folks, or can we move on?
And the plan is to present it at the next meeting, maybe?
yeah, why not? Let's just put this thing
You
to
don't
bed.
make these.
Yeah, it's fine.
All
I do have
right,
time for 2 of them.
job description for 2 new appointed positions, town event coordinator and town website coordinator.
Okay, I don't think we're at the place to appoint a website coordinator because we don't have a plan for a website yet. I think Corey Siglin has reached out and has kind of been leading the charge on this, which is great. Has like proposed for a website committee, and I think that's maybe where we're at.
Yep, and, he does, and I did not, I got it out of order, but there is a proposal from Corey if we want to revisit appointing.
Okay.
We could revisit this next meeting.
So basically, at this point, we've appointed him, but we haven't,
We haven't.
We haven't
appointed
appointed
him.
him. This is his proposal.
but didn't we appoint him on the?
He wasn't on there.
Okay. But didn't we appoint him on the meeting prior?
No.
There was no motion involved, he just came to talk to us and that was it.
Okay. So what are you saying, folks?
I think we can create a committee tonight or at the next meeting.
A committee to look at the committee?
A website committee.
Oh, okay.
Of one committee to do the
Okay.
website. Research background, and then they'll come up with a proposal. Appoint a website coordinator down the line when we have a website.
Okay, and who is the we?
On the committee,
Yeah, who is going to lead that charge?
Charge
Corey.
of,
Corey
Well, there's a
wants to
proposal.
chair it.
the Corey chair,
Yep.
and he actually designates people on the committee.
I'm blanking on procedures for appointing committees right now.
Make it up.
Think
See
about
what
it.
you're doing now.
You can appoint a committee of any structure you want.
Yeah.
I don't, do you feel comfortable deciding that tonight, or wanna look at it more?
I would like to wait.
We'll come back and make the committee next meeting. I think we should have Corey on there. I think it would be good to have Alenka on there. We already mentioned that. I think it would be really great if we had someone from the board on there. I would be happy to do that, but anyone. And then,
And Connie's on here and has suggested.
Connie, if you want to do that too. Just add more things to your plate.
It will be interesting.
And he also mentions fire chief, highway foreman, emergency management. So I don't know if those people would be interested in that, but.
I could reach out to the people that he named to see if they agree, or if they can agree on it, I don't know. But, although this hasn't been adopted yet,
Yeah.
should we just wait till next meeting, or you wanna do it today?
Let's wait till next meeting.
Is there any directive that you would want any work done between now and the next meeting? Does anybody have anything?
Well, we probably have to communicate with Corey and tell him what happened at this meeting and what is the plan, I would assume. That would be polite. I mean, the man has a lot of energy and good
Yeah.
ideas.
So the plan is to, at the next meeting, vote on the committee or appoint the committee?
A point, I think.
So I think I should reach out to the people he's suggesting to see if they would agree to be appointed, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
Jeremy's right there, I should ask.
Jeremy, would you like to be on the website committee? I'm glad that you like to be on the website committee. You're both named in Corey's proposal.
Again, I'm not sure how much he would be actually working on it, but I think he
I
wants to.
think that you could certainly find someone better suited for that task than yourself.
Yeah. These are names that just popped up.
He probably wants to think about building it out and having those people.
On the.
And,
As we're building.
yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I should communicate with Corey about what roles he really sees these people play, and then maybe talk to the folks that he's.
We could also put it out to the residents on the front porch forum or something, call for interest. Because I don't think it should just be limited to the people that one person identified.
Yeah. All right, so that is the website committee.
Okay. And the other's the town event coordinator.
So I'm confused, is
I
the
know.
town event coordinator, does that have to do with all events, or town sponsored events, or, what would that be? Like, I'm confused, cause like when it says, the appointee would keep ledger of monies received for rent turned over to the town, well, if it was a town event, there would be no rent.
Right. My
So
one
I'm just
question
confused.
to it is, every bit of the things that she is, or this person, the coordinator is supposed to take care of, is already taken care of. Is there a problem with the different things? It says, the appointee would collect and qualify event requests, ensuring that the town guidelines are adhered to. That's been us. We take and we receive whoever's interested, and then we go from there. And then it says, this position would directly report to and under the direction of the select board, which is still us. The appointee would keep ledger of the monies received for rent, turn over to the town the insurance certificates. We've had no problem with somebody coming in and handing Elanka a check with their insurance certificate. Or when they put in their request, they hand their insurance certificate in at that time. So they either hand in the request with a check or whatever, and then then we would do a save the date, and then we give them, once they provide the insurance, we're good to go. Point being is we're getting into repetitive stuff over and over again. And then it says, the regular insurance in spreadsheets for dates and locations, which we've taken care of. The purpose of this appointment is to foster the use of our town facilities in a proactive and equitable manner to all taxpayers. Well, equitable, the way that we've set it up, is first come, first serve. And it's worked just fine. And then it says to foster the use of our town facilities. Well, we just got news from VLCT that we shouldn't be insuring town, provided events. So what I'm getting to is this whole entire thing is just another part where you're adding something on to something that is working just fine. Events to happen in these buildings on our properties should be organically brought in. We should not be event coordinators and trying to draw in venues that it's like the Stone Church in Brattleboro. That's a venue spot. It's like Wyndham Hill Inn. They do, catering and renting out stuff. That's not what the town of Townsend is supposed to be doing. We're supposed to, as a select board, we're supposed to keep our operations going. We're not supposed to be sponsoring events and carrying on. These things should happen organically. This stuff here, event coordinator, is something that you're coming up with and bringing in out of the blue that doesn't need to happen because there's been no problem with the way that it's been operating. Like you're bringing smoke where there's already fire.
Let's have a conversation.
You're trying to, reinvent the wheel. It's like, let's just get back to what we're supposed to be here for.
I agree, like 95%. I don't think this is, not to sound rude, I don't think this is really relates to what we have discussed previously as to what the event coordinator role would be or what the proposal for it would be. This sounds like it's totally just reinventing exactly our regular process. So I don't really like this position description.
So my question to you then would be what part of the 95 that you believe shouldn't be 100%?
I don't see a reason why we can't have events in the town. Why we can't have event coordinator.
We've had events for.
Let me finish.
Decades.
All right. I don't see a reason why we can't have a coordinator that is bringing up ideas for community events, for things, not just for someone to say, I want to have a birthday party for my son here at the town hall. Great, that's awesome. That's not exactly a community event. But for someone to come in and say, I'm planning an event for, whatever thing in the spring, and we're gonna have, this thing, whatever, anyone can come. It can be a craft sale, it can be a whatever, right? Whatever the event is, doesn't matter right now. I don't see a reason why we can't have someone coordinating that for the town and taking on that responsibility when it's something that has been brought up with the library strategic planning and kind of all of their public engagement. That is a huge thing that people in town and residents are saying they want. They want more engagement activities, more things to bring people together. So when someone is bringing up that they'll take on that volunteer responsibility, I don't see why we can't have that.
So basically,
When you bring in the library to me, I'm standing here and I'm going like, humma. What the heck are you talking about, the library?
The library had a big
Yeah.
strategic planning process where they were
So
engaging.
the library should be the one that comes up with what they wanna do, they come over here
The
to say what
library doesn't have
they.
any power in the town.
Yeah, but the library has the same amount of
The
power
library
that
doesn't
Grace
have.
Cottage has. Grace Cottage seems to perform whatever they wanna do, no problem.
Grace
They come
Cottage
down
doesn't
the
have a lot of money
You
in the
missed the
library.
point with the library.
I missed the whole point of a lot of it,
The
Ally.
point of the library is that they did a huge public engagement survey, discussions, and everything. And they had presented to us as the board last year. And I think they were engaging with the board before then as well. And the findings of that whole process was, one of the biggest things is that residents of Townsend really want to see engagement activities, things that bring the community together. So this seems so like in line, there's a huge like direct response to people saying, this is what we want, and here's someone saying, I wanna do this, exactly what people want.
And all I'm saying is that right there is totally fine. But why are we sponsoring it?
Why not?
Why? When we haven't done this, we've been here for
Why?
260
Because-
years, why are we doing it now, all of a sudden?
That's not really.
Well, that is exactly what my point is. My point is that
It's
you
using
come in
that's
and
your
want to
opinion.
change everything.
It's using
Yeah, I'm speaking my opinion.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
And
That's
this is
your
what,
opinion,
but what I'm
it's my
getting
opinion,
to
that's
is that we have all the different things that the coordinator is supposed to do, we already cover.
yeah,
And that's what I'm saying, I agree, I don't
Another
think this
thing
is the coordinator.
for us to tend to, and it's like, after a while, it's gonna be, we're gonna need to get $2,000 a year because we're spending massive amounts of time just trying to figure out all these different little things that we keep adding onto our plate that aren't really anything to do with select board situations except for the
Laura
fact
has
that
something to say and then we will.
So Community Hope and Action years ago used to do what you're talking about. They would have a monthly event for people in the town that was absolutely free. It wasn't out there on the common making money with vendors and events and that are all money generated. It was basically a free event for people of the town to gather together and have a good time. It kind of fizzled over time, but for a while it was pretty popular. And it seems like that's what this person wants to do, and this is not a very good description. I think what she's trying to do is have events that are not based in capitalist ventures where people just go and spend money. You know, she wants to have events where people just come and hang out and have a good
Get
time
events.
and get to know each other, kind of like that square dance that guy did after the election. That kind of thing. And I think that's what she has in mind. So this is misleading to a certain extent. I don't, it's one thing to have events, that we're having already, but most of them, especially on the common, are generated by people doing a commercial venture. They're not really doing much for the townspeople except using our space, and so that other people can't go out there and throw a frisbee or whatever. But it seems like this should be described or revamped or something. So it's not reinventing the wheel, because one is free and one is for money.
What my point though is at brass tacks end of the day, is that yes, she can go sponsor and do whatever she should be, but it should not be select board sponsored, so to speak.
I don't think she wants sponsorship. I think she wants, she
Just
just wants you guys to oversee it.
I've said my part.
I understand what the library was doing, and I saw that, and it was nice, and it was nice to have the Hope Action programs. I didn't really participate, me and my family, but I saw a lot of people do that. My question is as being a taxpayer and as a part owner of all this stuff, is the liability. Do we need to find an organic organization like Hope's to try to foster that, to cover that liability?
Yeah.
That might be that coordinator's job, not handling the town's portion of it, but actually having a social group creation type thing and work from there. And And really, then they would bring proposals to you, just like first come, first serve. Yeah, I want these dates. Well, sorry, someone else has signed up for it. But I can see that happening. Could happen.
Well,
It's just it needs to not be
currently,
facilitated.
we don't allow anybody to have events without an insurance policy, a rider on their homeowners or a separately purchased one. And on the policy that we reworked, we even have the VLCT number that can provide cheap insurance to people. So we're very cognizant of not allowing town properties to be used without insurance. So that I don't really think is an issue. We have appointed her in the beginning of this meeting. I think we need to work on a job description. Connie, would you be willing to call her and talk about a new job description? Would that be okay with the board?
No. I would love to see I would love to see her set something up and do something in the sense of Community Hope and Action, what they had for their actual backbone and startup. That, to me, would be way more productive and progressive for this town than us to have anything to really do with it. Just
We
let
just appointed her.
you appointed her. I didn't.
Well, majority of the board did.
Well, that's fine, but I'm still gonna stand on my 2 feet and speak my piece. And my part is that we had something called Community Hope and Action. It fizzled out. Start that back up again. Put your time into that. But it's like, we're just gonna keep adding stuff onto our plate until we're overwhelmed. And you're already close to overwhelmed, so keep adding more things and you'll be there quickly.
My concern has always been about the money. I missed the meeting when she was appointed and gave her presentation. I was going to bring this up then. There's 2 ways that I'm concerned about money. One of them is that if the town is sponsoring an event, that means we're paying for it. We're already dialing in our budget at every quarter, trying to stay within, dealing with deficits, things like that. That concerns me. I don't know how. I wouldn't want this one person to pay for it, but we can't pay for it unless we have. And then that leads me into my other concern that I would have brought up at that time, which was she, at least at the pre-con meeting we had, she had said, we could do. I understand where her heart was too. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but she was explaining that we could have these events and we could, maybe charge at the door, or we could take the charge the vendors or something, and then that money could go towards like repairing the town hall, and that stops me dead in my tracks because we already have taxes. Our members of the public already pay into the fixing up of the town hall, things like that. And it just, I wouldn't feel comfortable charging fees to our towns and residents and things like that to come to their own town hall to be at an event or something. I think her heart is in the right place, but I think, sort of like Rob was saying, I have been seeing in other towns, and I've mentioned it a bunch of times at select board meetings, there's these committees that come up that are friends of the town, friends of the thing that they want to do. They do their own fundraising, they come to the town, they ask for the permission, they provide the insurance, they do the thing for the community. And I think that feels better and safer for me than this. It's not to say that I don't want the town to have events, but I just think that there's a lot of things to take into account. We could certainly see what other description comes out of this and some way to move towards something that's workable, but those are my concerns and they haven't changed as I have paid attention to the evolution of this position.
Can you clarify something for me? Did we not appoint her tonight with the list of appointees?
We did.
And not previously, Katie?
I think the position was created at the meeting that I wasn't here for.
Yeah,
I think if you go back and you
created
look,
the
you put
position.
on there whoever's name was on there, and
I think the position was created a few meetings ago. She was appointed to that position tonight. But there's a discussion about the job description.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring this up earlier with the appointments because I knew that you guys had voted on the position when I wasn't here. So. I'm assuming it was already.
just to say, I appreciate your comments, and especially on like charging residents and everything, like, I think that's a really valid concern. I don't think that this necessarily means that the town has to pay for the events, and we don't have a budget for that, so where would the town pay for those events from? So I think, in the proposal that she brought up, there was a lot of self-funding that didn't have to do with town funding, so I would just to say that.
So we're back to Connie, can you read that piece about you working with her for a new job description?
It just, I hadn't finished, it just says that I was directed to communicate with Shiloh about, the job description. Now, she has made a proposal, she made that back a few years ago, but I can morph it, so that okay.
Morphin, a little more morphin.
The one thing I just want to, there are two select board members that have said, I believe Katie and Rob have said, along with Laura, the community hope and action model is the one that there is more appealing to them, which is a group of citizens who come together to plan and foster community events.
And I was on the board when Community Hope and Action first started, and then when they dissolved. And they would come, like Laura said, and they had, correct me if I'm wrong, they had dances here for a while. They would have food, like, be potluck type of stuff. Every single time they would come in, they would do the exact same thing that they do for the Pumpkin Festival, the fair days, Pickle Fest. They would apply, give us their dates. They had insurance, the whole 9 yards. We took care of it. Great.
And I think that's.
And if there was never a hiccup or anything with it, there was never complaints.
So my question is that the model that I'm taking back to Shiloh in the conversation that I've been directed to have?
I'd be willing to help you with that, because I was really involved with that group.
I would like to see it be its own entity and not a subsidiary or a leg of us. Like, you guys do your own stuff, you have all your stuff, bring it to us.
I feel that way as well.
That's an organic event, that's not something that we're trying to push a venue.
So I feel like two people on the board are sort of directing that channel. I don't know where the other two people on the board, in terms of how I have that conversation with Shiloh.
I'm fine with that exploration.
Okay.
I mean, another thing that might be positive is to reach out to somebody that was part of Community Hope and Action and see, well, I understand it, but get the paperwork of what, what they had for a diagram of their setup.
Thrives took it over, so I'm not quite sure. Thrives.
West Valley Thrives.
Yeah, they took over everything, so I'm not sure what they've got available or not, but I can check out.
No, but I'm just saying that however they set that up, it would be good for Shiloh or whoever to look into it and work from that.
Yep.
Okay, so we're moving on.
Is there going to be a chance for me to read the letter that I brought in sometime tonight, or should I wait till the end of the meeting?
Why don't you do it right now?
Thank you. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired.
Is the board okay with that?
I guess we kind of stick through members of the public.
Yeah.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to stand up because I'm old and tired. So, basically, I'm going to try to read it verbatim. First, I would like to say that I'm aware that most of the select board members do not get much reward for doing this, and it's appreciated. Mostly, I'm going to address some statements made by members of the public at the last meeting, which I couldn't attend. Sherwood Lake in particular said some things that were wrong, such as Ally not being aware of the common use requirements. Ally served on the select board at one time and shouldn't claim lack of information. Also, if Sherwood felt people weren't being fully informed, he was on the select board for years and could have addressed this. Also, his rude and hostile reaction to Nick's statement about inappropriate behavior basically proved Nick right. Sherwood dropped the ball during the power outages caused by the snowstorm of March 2023, which is why Olenka had to step in and help people. A knowledge of rules, regulations, and technology isn't a priority during an emergency. Caring for people at risk is. Warren Beatty brought up the turnover of the select board last March, saying he didn't know what happened. Seems that most townspeople did know. They were upset by the bullying and obstructive behavior exhibited by the members. The gazebo situation brought this to a head, and a turnover was the result. In closing, I'm going to skip the policy thing. In closing, I would like to say that my coming to these meetings is motivated by concern for the town, not a need for attention or to cause problems. There are many things that are far more pleasant that I could be doing with my time than coming here. I do it because I care.
Thank you, Laura. Do you need a copy of that?
Yeah. I've got my scribbled copy at home, so.
Okay. Any comment other than just adding it to the minutes? Yes.
As far as reference to the snowstorm, and this has been brought up and this has been explained many times, you have to be very careful. You can't, there's people that are considered protected, and if you go and just check on them or send someone, you can't just send someone to go check on them. Like there's people who, the visiting nurses, the state has a list of these people, but they can't give us that list because of HIPAA violations and everything else. There's a lot of legal stuff that goes into this. What I would say and what I would highly recommend for people that are concerned is that we've all lived here our whole life. Snow is nothing new. Power outages are nothing new. I don't think you so much need the select board to tell you when to go get gas for your generator or check on your neighbors. It's kind of a common courtesy thing that you should, especially if you live in remote areas that, let's face it, you know when the power goes out, that if you live on a line that only serves 5 people, you're gonna be one of the last ones to get power. You know, have a generator, have backup, talk to your neighbors. Like, if you wanna get involved with community, then do it. Don't talk about it, do it. Get involved with your neighbors. Set something up. If you live on Townshend Acres, there's a really great place. Get together, get to know your neighbors, talk to them. What do you do when the power goes out? What are we gonna do?
All I know is that when that happened, people were calling Alenka and asking her for help. And many people were doing that. Not everyone has the ability or the money to go out and get a generator or hook up with their neighbors because they're working all the time and they have family at home that they have to deal with. You know, it's like every man for themselves is not a solution. And Alenka basically helped people find, she found places for people to go and ways to help them. And which really seems like it's like she's still willing to step up and do that, and it's being criticized and ignored because of it. That's what brought this up.
What I don't understand is that if Alenka would like to open up the place and be able to get people to come in here, she had the ability and she did. All right, that's good.
Yes, it is. She stepped up.
But what,
I would just like to
I mean,
clarify.
where are we going with
that
this? It's like-
The night of that storm, Sherwood called me at around 10 o'clock in the evening and asked me to come down and open the thing. So Sherwood was involved in getting the facility open, and Alenka came down too, and we staffed the place for a number of hours. But it wasn't just Alenka showing up, but Sherwood did call and had me come down.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, there was people out there helping. I, for one, was called by the state of Vermont to go do a welfare check and brought the person down to Newbrook Firehouse, which is a legal place turned into a shelter. The Townshend Town Hall is not. So you have to be careful. And I think if you're willing to spend all the hours and go to the trainings and classes and learn all this, there's unfortunately, it's just not the good old days.
The other one too is with Sherwood, it's like at some point, some of these people, they don't, like, you're talking about, oh, some people don't have the ability to have a generator or this or that. Well, some people also don't have the ability, they get stuck in a snowbank, they can't walk a half mile back to their house or whatever it is. So you might be better off to just stay home and tuck yourself in until the stuff, until things get better. And it's like this part where it's like every man for himself.
No heat's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to tuck yourself in very well. Yeah. And I understand,
This is Vermont.
we can't
This is
solve
not New
everyone's
York City.
problems.
So it's like, we don't have 24/7 municipality stuff that goes on all the time. You might have to be self-sufficient every now and then. That's just how it is. And it's just like,
I'd like to interject and thank Laura for the letter. We'll have it part of it, and if you two want to have a conversation after the meeting, that's fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now we're on to tree care. Katie, would you like to speak to that?
Sure, so, I was attempting to write an RFP for the care of the trees on the common for our conversation last select board meeting. And I kind of took information from what we had going on already, but then also took some feedback from Ally, and then remembering what Rob was saying about how we ended up with that contract and everything. And I made a version that's pared down and a version that's more specific. Basically, I don't know what we need, and I don't know if what we had was what we need. So how do you write an RFP if you don't know exactly what you need? So I was hoping that people would read this and give me some pointers, whichever version, the shorter version, the longer version.
We have to have a motion to have discussion. I mean,
I don't know if it's in a position where we're ready to,
I mean,
accept
one
it.
question I have, instead of calling it an RFP, what if we invite people to inspect the common and give us suggestions, opinions, and then we can go from there? I mean, I appreciate
I
everything.
think we can't do it that way because of, you know,
Objectivity, right?
so,
Staying objective in the process.
right.
Well, I don't know that that's correct.
Well, if one person comes and tells us, here's what you should do, and then we put
But-
that out.
But if 10
then they
people
have
come
the-
and tell us, you should do this, and we build a model,
Mhm.
then I think we could do that, because as you, I mean, the grass and the level of the common really needs to be worked on. It would be nice to get a whole scope of work for the common, not to just spend $3,000 a year treating trees and we don't know if it's the right treatment particularly.
Okay, so how do we do that?
I don't know how we do that, but
I know the common needs some top dressing.
that's what I'm saying, it's not just the trees. And the trees have been suffering, and is that disease, or is it that they were using the wrong fertilizer, or we missed a year? What is it? I think we need advice before we go forward myself. And how do we get that advice and still be legal beagles?
There's nothing available through the state, like a state arborist or something that, a consultant? I know they used to do that.
That might be.
The thing about it is when you break it down, it's like, I mean, Bartlett's been doing it for years and years. Your whole point of whatever the solution that they're putting on, is that the proper solution? I don't know. Is it, what their recommendations are, the right recommendations? I don't know that either. I mean, I do know that they were trying with the maples to really make a go of it, for it to be more of a, like historic piece. And they switched over to the white and the red oak to see if that would be a different thing. So it's like, it's not like they're using one application and only one application and it's not working and they're sticking with it. They are trying something different. But we could call 20 different people and get 20 different ideas and 20 different
And we could take a
solutions
piece
to.
of this one and a piece of this one and build a model ourselves, or we can ask
How
Connie.
are you gonna build the model if you don't know what you're talking about?
Well, or
I mean,
we can
it's-
ask
you gotta-
Connie
you
to
gotta
call the
underst-
state and see if there's an arborist.
Well, that would be one thing to do.
Okay. Shall we do that?
I think also in the scope of work that I had written out, I was basically asking them to make us suggestions to add to to, because in the other contract that we had, it basically explained that they could make suggestions and the select board would consider it. Something that I did like that they had was that this periodic tree risk assessment, which I think would give us some information about what was going on out there. So, yeah, whatever, if we need to wait. It does seem that they did a spring, summer fertilization and then a fall one. So if we're thinking that we wanted those kinds of things done, then we're gonna wanna make that decision, I would say by June. They did say when we were deciding on whether or not to sign on the contract last year, I think they said July would have been okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't take us that long to decide what we wanna do.
So, state arborist to figure out what are the things we need to look for, and then we could essentially move forward with a better defined scope of work and all the other pieces in here, pre-bid meeting.
Okie dokie. So the next one, Connie, do you want to speak to this, or Katie being on the highway committee?
Want me to give the first? Yeah, I do. Okay, so what you have in front of you is a proposal from what we informally call the Highway Budget Committee that was formed during budget season, and it's Katie Morrow, Jeremy, and myself. And the purpose of that committee was to manage the highway budget with Jeremy, with his needs and the budgetary needs. And Katie, as the highway liaison, the select board member who is the highway liaison, has been involved in meetings, highway foreman meetings, road crew meetings that are put on by VTrans. And my understanding is that at a few of these meetings, there's been a lot of discussion about the challenges that road departments are facing when looking at purchasing new equipment, new trucks. I refer to it in the proposal, but there is information on the table about what is called the Advanced Clean Truck Act rule that was passed by Vermont. It's modeled after the California zero emissions rule, and that we believe is going to have a increasing impact on pressure on roads in town, road crews in town, to be able to afford new trucks and get them in a somewhat timely fashion. So that's all spelled out in sort of this opening part. So what this group, the three of us, decided about a month ago, after being more and more part of these discussions about the challenges that road departments are facing, is we decided to put together a plan, a proposal, to start a discussion about a 3 to 4 year plan in the highway department. And that is what you have in front of you. It is merely to discuss, do we want to think about our current fleet and the next step? And for those that are a member of the public, it's in the packet that Glenn has, and I think there's one more packet here if you'd like to read it. What it does is that it puts a little bit of context to why we're making this proposal, which is, you know, over this past year, we have faced some big challenges in the equipment of the highway. We have done a lot of work on the trucks, and we are close to having a fully operating fleet. And so we want to get that fleet up and running for the next 3 to 4 years. But what is the next piece of equipment that has to be addressed? So that's the context. There is a description of each of the trucks, of where they're at currently, and all the work that has been happening over this past year. We see it coming to fruition, because the trucks, you know, I don't want to say they're in good shape, but I want to say that the fleet is in better shape than it has been, and it's hopeful in terms of a 3-year plan or a 4-year plan. And then this proposal goes into basically a three-part phase, which is if we repair the body to the Freightliner, that has a positive impact on the entire fleet, because then you take the load off the 1 ton, I'm getting this right? And that will lengthen the life of the 1 ton. And the Freightliner is a reasonable repair to give us more time. So that's phase 1. Phase 2, again, this is not per year, this is within the same year. If we want to get around, I don't want to say this, I guess, probably in public, but if we want to get ahead of the Zero Emission Act that will go into effect January of 2026, we can purchase a truck this year in order to get ahead of that and not be bound by it, we believe. And so the proposal is to have a 2-phase purchasing of a new truck. One is the Cassie and the cab and chassis. Sorry about that. Get that order in by January, and
No, we have to take delivery before January.
get the delivery of that before January.
So we need to order.
And then order the rest of the truck equipment that will come in a different fiscal year. So again, I'm not being really articulate about this, but that is the 3 parts of the 4-year plan. Then I go into funding, which is the huge challenge on funding this all. And suffice it to say that I believe that we would need to investigate borrowing in order to get that done. So the question is do we want to really look into being more aggressive about this new truck that will take 2 years to get, but if we order it and purchase it or purchase part of it ahead of time, we get around this act, this zero emissions thing. So
I don't even know if it's about getting around it, because I don't think that's possible. I think it's about,
being able to have a diesel truck.
having the accessibility to it, because what's gonna happen is, basically like every year, the amount of electric trucks that they have to sell a certain amount before they can sell a diesel truck. And that percentage of trucks that get sold each year goes up and up and up and up of electric, ahead of diesel, from now until, or from January 2026 until, 2035, at which point I believe it'll be around 75% electric and
They have to sell.
25% diesel.
Yeah. I may not be using
Glenn has
that
a
word.
question.
It's the pressure of that.
Yes, Glenn?
Just a thought to throw out there, on your committee, do you have room for members of the public, or are they not allowed?
Yes.
Yeah, they're always pretty welcome.
Because I don't mind donating other people's time, but you've got Dale West who here, no, but seriously, who works for AOT, right?
Yeah.
He's also been on a couple of the truck committees for AOT, and I know they're discussing this very same thing. So would it not behoove you to have someone like that maybe working with you, who's gonna have probably an inkling of what the state's doing long before we'll ever figure
Yeah,
it out?
that would be great.
I nominate Dale West.
It's a committee, and obviously he's free to say no, but I'm just thinking that.
I don't know totally what they're doing because I don't get that information, but I do know a good idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And I do know what's going on with the electric versus things.
Are you
willing?
Well, again, I think the purpose of tonight's proposal is for the select board to decide whether or not to explore this more. Obviously, make no decisions, but to explore, do you want us to really dig in on this? Because there are some concrete timeline things that we have to deal with. And we have generally been meeting every other week, and we can pick a time if Dale wants to be a part of it. That-
Just an idea of, if we do not do nothing before January. So I've been told that after January 1st, the price of a diesel truck is gonna increase between $25,000 and $35,000 because of these emissions.
And then there's the issue also of the supply chain where you can get the cab and chassis, but you can't get the rest of the things that you need for 2 years
The
right now.
equipment is,
Which like for us, we've been diving into this idea of how long the fleet is gonna last and how long it's gonna take us to get a truck. I think we even opened those conversations learning about the fire trucks and how long that was gonna take. We're still seeing those supply chain.
It'd be
issues.
interesting to look at refurbing. I know some people are starting to look into that.
Yeah.
Really dive into it to like, you spend $40,000 and you might get another 5 years out of a truck.
I think that's what we were.
Or 100,000 even.
right,
And then
versus,
we're,
I know the
and then
town,
we're looking at that kind of a timeline and saying, but if we don't order the truck, then we're looking at 2, maybe 3 years after that, and then we're almost at that 5 years that this truck is expired and we're gonna need that truck, right? So I think it's all of these timelines we're trying to figure out what makes the most sense, what fiscal year to spend the money, and how to go about it so that, not necessarily so that we can skirt these regulations, but so that there's trucks available to us when we need them.
And if we need money, we can, 30 days, you can have a town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
An
also
emergency
didn't-
one
and we
and
also
explain
didn't
it all.
use the municipal loan for the equipment that we just purchased, so we haven't closed all of the doors in terms of being creative with funding it. I think we just needed to open these conversations so we can say, hey, this is the longevity of our equipment, what do we need to do?
The one thing you do have to remember though, you can't spend outside this budget year coming.
Yeah.
If you spend money outside of that or sign contracts for that, then you have to get taxpayers approval.
Yeah, definitely.
No, that's exactly what I was gonna say about the borrowing.
So if this is something the board is interested in, then I think it's probably easier for the highway committee to put together ideas of what type of truck, what timeline, but then there is the huge challenge of the money. And so I think there would be some real work that the select board would need to do on that.
regardless, I just wanna make a suggestion that regardless of what we do as far as the new truck goes, I think we definitely need to replace the body on the Freightliner to give us a fully operational fleet. Because currently we have 4 CDL capable drivers. The 1 ton was being used previously because the last guy was non-CDL, so it's the reason that it has had so many repairs. It was just being overused for what
It was
designed for, yes.
So again, that would be under the last section under proposal timeline. We don't have the money to do the Freightliner. If we have to pay off the backhoe in fiscal year 26, the question is when do we want to pay it off? But the longer we don't pay it off, the more the payoff will be, because it's going to include more interest. And we have to make a payment in September on the grader. Those 2 things are going to use up, pretty much are going to use up what we have in the highway reserve when we get our first tax payment in August of 2025. So we can in August, we will be able to do 2 things that we are required to do, which is the grader payment and paying off the backhoe if we want less interest payments. It is not until until the end of December that we would have enough money to,
So it doesn't, so I'm screwed for next winter as it is.
I'm just raising the
I'm just saying,
challenges on the
okay.
money.
Well, I think we just added someone to our committee, so we might be able to come up with a plan.
Do you
And
want
we
to,
have to factor into the
I'll help
75,000
where I can.
over
It's-
from the last
That includes-
appropriation
that
and the
includes-
20,000 out the door,
I haven't
which
done
we
that.
haven't gotten yet, right?
But that did include the 75. My challenge did include the 75. There will be a small balance, but not enough to cover the Freightliner.
No, yeah, not outright, yeah. Which is where loan program, the bonds or something.
So why don't the
Liquidity
four
loans come into play.
of you figure out when you could meet and discuss these things?
Well, we need to have some kind of direction on the, what are we exploring with the money? Because it's easy to come up with a proposal on truck equipment. The hard part's the money.
Well,
So I would really ask people to really visit
Yeah.
this timeline proposal and think about what you want to explore.
and address it next meeting?
And to me, I guess, this select board needs to decide, are we gonna try to pull the plug before January 2026? That will set a lot of things in motion. But if we don't fundamentally decide, are we going to try to order something?
Jeremy, we're talking about your monies.
So I do think that that is the first thing, whatever research we need to do to help the select board make that decision, we should do that, because that will set.
Well, I think there'd have to be a special town meeting to borrow.
Well, I think you first have to decide,
To
do
decide
you
what
wanna try to get a truck ordered and in hand by January 2026? And then that sets out the timeline and what we need to do. And I'm not saying you have to decide that tonight, I'm just saying that is, I think, probably the first thing that you have to wrestle with.
I'm leaning towards, now that we have some fresh eyes joining us for our proposal and our committee, it might be better for us to put this on hold and then bring it to the committee to look it over so Bill can spend some time with it, so he can get on the page round and see if he has anything different, an angle we didn't look at. And then we come back again now that we've floated the idea and people can have some time to think about where we were coming from when we made this proposal. I would like there to be no decision tonight and us to just continue to discuss this as a committee and then come back next time with some fresh input.
And then on our end, do a little background, a little homework on what are some other ways for funding and for making payments. And, you know, if it's a loan, whether it's a bond, whatever it is, so that we also kind of know when you guys come back, what are options.
So what I'm hearing, and Dale, have you accepted to be on the committee?
I'll help.
Okay. So what
I
I'm
don't know how
hearing-
much of help you're gonna like me, but yeah.
So what I'm hearing is, number one, the committee reconvenes, has a discussion about equipment and fleet and options. And then in conjunction with that, some portion or some volunteers on the select board would start diving into finance options.
And just familiarizing themselves with like the different things that we put in, where we're at in that conversation.
May I ask something? So, I know that there's been a lot of talk about the highway department getting extra help to get grants and things like that. Are there grants available for this sort of thing?
No.
Not for purchasing the trucks.
Okay, shall we move on to the next?
Is there a select board member who would like to help on researching the finance options?
I can do it with you, Nick.
Great.
Okay, several of us went to the dam meeting the other day in Jamaica. Who would like to discuss this for the group? Connie, do you know?
Again, if you're looking at the packet, you will see a summary of what we experienced when we went. Again, when I say we, I'm pretty much speaking from Ally, Helen, and Mike's perspective. I don't know what Nick and what he experienced, but this is what we came away from the meeting understanding, which is basically that there is going to be a revision to the master plan. When I looked at that revision, and again, the revision is up here on the table if anybody wants to see it, they are moving away from a commitment from the water-based recreation and developing other forms of recreation because they have no vision and probably don't have the funds to really deal with the silt issue at the dam. At least 3 of us who went to that meeting didn't quite agree that just because they have a lack of vision, we should accept that. And so what is being put in front of the board tonight is four things for the board to consider whether or not you want to do. And one is there a way to negotiate a water recreation? Was that with the Army Corps? Is that with your state senators? Is that with the Connecticut River Valley Flood Control Commission? But see if there's a way to negotiate water recreation at the dam. Create and circulate a petition for residents to sign and submit during their open comment period that ends, I think, May 15th. Sign a statement tonight by the board, which is in your packet, about, putting out our voice into the public sector as representatives of the town. Focusing on our relationship with the Army Corps of Engineers to help make the dam what it should be. And then finally, understanding how the financial payment that they give to us in lieu of taxes, how has it been derived, and is there something that we can do about it? So that is what is being put in front of the board to decide whether or not you want to move on.
Yes on all of it. How do we do it?
Well, if you agree with the petition, there's a draft petition in there. If you agree with the select board statement, there's a draft select board statement in your packet. So you can accept or ask that those be revised. So I would suggest people read those. The other 2 or the other 3 are going to be more of a work project.
May I say
Any
something?
questions, Alan?
Let me get Glenn had his hands up first and then you.
Just a question, has anybody reached out to Kathy Hagee on this? I know when she was on the board, I know herself and I think some other select board members actually ended up down in Waltham in discussions with the Army Corps. Obviously, I don't think they were successful, but it may be insight at least of what the board tried to do back then and what they meant, if any roadblocks.
Jan Sleeper's tried this her whole life to get over $5,000 a year and we have a lot of the paperwork from Kathy's time, but reaching out to her would be a good idea as well.
Just an idea, I do know that she spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
It was Craig and Kathy went down to Waltham. Craig Hunt and Kathy.
And the representative is new, well, I can't say new now, because it's probably been about 6 years. There's a new person that represents Vermont on that board. And I don't believe it's very
I think the final draw comes down to the, what do they call it, the captain or the corporal or whatever he is of the.
No, the money is owned by the commission.
No, but the guy that gives you the yay and nay of whether you're, when they had, the person that gave them the, no, we're not doing anything, was basically orders from the highest ranking of whoever it is involved.
That part about getting dredging done and all that stuff.
It was like they just basically said, no, you're getting what you get, and then that's that.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, Laura.
So I actually did talk with the guys instead of just looking at them when I was there. And a couple of the things that they talked about was the fact that Sosimo's gravel pit, which is just north of the dam, and between Ball Mountain Dam and Townshend Dam, has an immense amount of gravel and silt and junk going into the river that's getting carried down to the dam, and that they can't do anything about that. It almost seems like, well, maybe Sosimo ought to pony up. They've got some money, but also he mentioned the fact that due to the changes that are going on in the federal government right now, they are experiencing a hiring and money, they have no funds, and they have a hiring freeze, and even the people that they were counting on from another organization to help them have now been disbanded by the federal government as of the end of this month. So they're kind of like between a rock and a hard place, as much as they may even want to do it. They're probably considering themselves lucky to have a job at this point. So it's really a rough time to be asking them for much of anything, because I don't think they have much of anything to give.
I'll throw something out there, and not to contradict anything of what they said to you, but Sir Sosimo's, I'll guarantee you, has zero material coming out of their pit going into that river. Because for
Okay.
one, it's a rock pit. It's not a sand pit. What they're probably talking about is where the Warrensboro Brook comes down and meets the West River. There's a huge sandbar there that has come from the banks you rode in off of the Warrensboro River, and that's the first place that it has a place to stop with the current. I'll almost guarantee that's what they're talking about. It's got nothing to do with Sir Sosimo in any of their operations, because they are so regulated by the state that they, you know, they're under scrutiny. They're under the
It
watchful
sounded
eye.
like he was saying that the stuff was eroding from that area and into the river, but I could be wrong.
The rivers have changed drastically in the last,
Because of the flooding.
since since Irene, the last floods we've
And the
had.
river in Sir Sosimo's pit is a reasonable distance apart. I mean, it's quarter mile, half mile, I mean, it's right across from Glenn's
I was gonna say, the
house.
sandbar you're talking about is right above their entrance. And
Right above
if you drive up Route 100,
Yep.
you'll see exactly what Rob's referring to coming down that brook.
And the same
And I
thing with the
don't
Pikes
believe-
Falls River and all the tributaries that go into that, both dams
Dumping into it.
are dumping into it through the mountains.
Turkey Mountain, everything.
So we're kind of like, it's a tough,
But we don't wanna get Sir Sosimo stirred up.
okay, we're gonna throw it to Cosmo.
Well, I don't think that anybody in their right minded business with a gravel pit's gonna watch it all wash down the river. I mean, that'd be kinda, you know.
That's losing material. I'm sure they wouldn't mind going and digging that. State let them get in there.
Doing the statement, and you need to decide if there's a petition.
I just read through the statement that you wanted to send to them, and I think that's good. I think we should, let them know that we strongly oppose the revisions to the master plan that would eliminate a commitment to water-based recreation at the reservoir. I mean, I remember, was it last year or the year before when they said they were gonna dredge? I don't know if they
They
did.
said they
did,
had dredged
but
back in
frozen.
2022, and then 23 had those floods.
The other thing to think about is that this master plan, if it goes through, it's for the next 25 years.
Yeah, I don't think we should give anything up
No,
when they've already slacked on a bunch of.
and when they've
they
said
had
that a lot
funding.
of things are being pulled back, so how can they facilitate anything that we would agree to for 25 years?
Yeah. But we don't wanna get caught in the shuffle of that and lose some of our,
Correct.
our rights in that.
Okay, do we need votes on these things?
We do the vote for the
Something.
statement.
So make a motion to
Kevin is.
accept the statement, where is it?
I make a motion for the board to sign a joint statement to the Army Corps of Engineers regarding the updated master plan for Townshend Lake.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that four? Is that-
Yeah, that's 4.
Then there's a petition. The board wants to
And
put
the
the petition.
petition,
Is that part of what they were asking for, like?
Well, they kept saying, let us know what people think.
Yeah.
give us people's responses, et cetera, and this is one way to give a response.
Now, it sounds almost identical to the statement, but.
But it would
it's
have
from
residents
the
sign.
residents. The four of us.
And how would that look? Like, would you advertise it on Front Porch or something,
Why?
and people would come here to sign it.
Just go door to door with it.
Could do that.
Carry it around in
And
the
love
luggage. And we can put it at the market, et cetera, the post office in West Townsend, we can put it on, we have a Townsend Facebook page that we can tell people to come to town hall and sign.
Get the website going, we'd be able to put it on that.
I know. So, is everybody in favor of this petition? I personally feel it can't hurt.
Make a motion to circulate a petition titled Save Our Beach of the Townsend Dam.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we're finished with the dam master plan.
Well, we are gonna need, volunteers to work on
And
Committee.
we have a town hall use request baby shower for Ashley Russ.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, Ashley Russ's baby shower on May 3rd, set up at 10 a.m., breakdown at 3 p.m. for the use of the town hall downstairs. I'd like to waive the fee. I'd like to authorize Ally Evans to sign on behalf of the board.
She already paid $100.
Well, she paid it because she wasn't sure.
Okay, I'm
So
just
just send it
saying.
back to her.
Unless she chooses to donate.
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Okay.
Was that what you were gonna?
Yeah.
Agenda? Okay.
All right, any further discussion?
And this is the downstairs? Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. 4 ayes. Okay, then we have a thank you letter to John Evans that we referred to before. And we will get that out and we'll have the board sign it. Any discussion there?
It was already decided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
The firehouse boiler, we have a sales proposal here. Do you have any comments back there, folks?
Comments? Well, it's broken and it's gonna have to get repaired or replaced. There's a couple options. Looking over the budget, and I've gotta look at it again after today because when we put together the budget initially, or the proposal for it, we had zeros in a lot of the accounts that the town was then handling. But now there's been shown coming out of our budget with negative numbers, which annihilated our budget, as you can imagine, because you got expenses coming out that we didn't put any numbers in, and I guess whoever had the final approval didn't put any numbers in there either, so. But Darlene, I think, does she work for Nemrick or something?
Yes.
So she went in today and I guess changed some things, so I'll have to look at it and maybe it's in better shape. With any hope, there'll be money left over for when this fiscal year ends in June. And then hopefully there would be enough to put the down payment and then actually not replace it until the fall when we're in the new fiscal year's budget. Because I'm pretty sure, I know we put money in there, I hope it's still there but I can say, I think I drastically underestimated the cost of it. But it wasn't a sure thing.
Yeah.
We didn't know if it was gonna go or not, other than its habit is to go every 5 to 7 years.
Do we have to put something like this out to bid, or how does that work?
Good question.
Didn't Russ Brown put that in?
Every 5 to 7 years, it blows out. It's the quality.
It's the third one.
Have you seen the water in that place?
It's brown,
No,
it's
Yeah.
brown.
just your pump truck. Oh, you're saying the quality of the water?
Yeah.
And
We've
it
had people look to see if they can put a filtrate. There's nothing you can do with that water.
It eats the jacket of the boiler every 5 to 7 years. That's why we try to plan for it in our budget.
would we be better to go with the gas furnace instead of an oil? Or is this,
No, it is oil, but it's,
no, but an
Yes.
LP gas would force hot air or something instead of oil, or?
oh my gosh, I don't know.
Well, and they have mini splits now as well, and that's not that big a building.
Yeah,
And it's not that
no,
big
no,
of a
no,
bill,
city
right?
loss in that place.
It would run
One to the
nonstop.
other, but would we be
That's the
better off
thing,
to try
is
like
big
hot air
heat
instead
loss
of
machine.
the water? Would we be better to try hot air instead of baseball?
I'm
water
gonna
or
refer you
radiators?
to, right now it's a steam system. I'd have to refer you to energy expert. I'm not a heating, cooling specialist in buildings. Cars I can help you with.
Connie has a question.
I have a comment and a question. A question first. If the select board decides to research with an energy consultant about other options, how urgent is it to get it replaced? Like
It doesn't work.
Well, we're heading into, it's for heat, right?
Yes,
And we're heading into a warm season.
that's hence why I said, like, it all boils down to having enough money to pay for it.
Okay.
Which there should be maybe leftover money in this year's budget. I don't know.
So we could
Yeah.
go for a couple months while we research other types if we want.
It can, but you have to, how many, let's see, we're almost in May. So by the close of the fiscal year, in order for the select board to still have authority to put any money any place that's left over, it has to be done before the books close.
Correct.
Once they close, now you gotta go back to the taxpayers and say, can we do this?
Gotcha, so it's basically the end of June is the deadline.
They don't close around.
Yeah, and I don't know, I didn't look at the bid quote to see if it's good for 10 days, 15 days, 30 days. I did not read it that fine. I did reach out to him and ask him, was it possible to do a down payment this fiscal year? Because I'm pretty sure that's what we did the last time. Because it's,
Yeah.
Doesn't
And they
our,
put that in there too.
doesn't our procurement policy say we should put anything over X amount of dollars out to bid?
you'd have to, hopefully you've read it. I don't know, I
Yeah.
haven't read it.
Yeah, but when you do that, I'm pretty sure with Dead River, we've signed a contract with them for different stuff.
Yeah.
You need to look at that as well, you're correct.
Yeah.
Because
we
they may
signed
not want
last
to
time,
take
I
over
remember
someone
last time
else's.
that we went through going through all of our different fuel stuff, that we signed, I think it was like 3-year contracts with them for everything from service to the oil to all
New
of it.
purchases even?
Well, I don't know, I mean, that's what the contract, you'd have to look and read what it says.
So we'll find the contract.
We have 3 weeks until the next select board meeting. That seems like enough time to look into some options and then bring it back around. I don't think that we would wanna vote later than the second meeting in May. I mean, we were trying to rein in our highway stuff before June so that everything could get reconciled appropriately. So I think we need to make this decision hopefully by the next select board meeting would be my idea about that.
One other thing I was just gonna say is, speaking to Glenn's question about funds, the general fund is well under budget in terms of spending, so unless something drastically changes, there will be a surplus even before we get to the collection of delinquent taxes. So there will be money, and it is similar to the garage's fire alarm system where that particular department is over budget, but we do know that the general fund in general fund balance is below budget, so there should be money there.
And we also have a contingency fund in the fire department.
That's for vehicles.
No.
No,
Isn't it? Under vehicles?
No, if you read the line item, and I don't know, after spending several hours with the treasurer and the NIMRIC representative, yeah, I don't know what to say,
It's
but
basically using
budgets matter, but at the end of the day, budgets don't matter. Line items matter, but at the end of the day, line items don't matter. So I don't know how you can have it both ways, but apparently you do for certain things and not others. I can't get my head around it, but that particular line item is for new firehouse, which she did give me an education on it, that shouldn't even be in it. First I've heard of it. As I explained to her, we just go by the budgets we've always had. If no one instructs us or asks us to do something different, we're not going to. You know, now the auditor's report says, oh, there should be a reserve account for, you know, there's major truck catastrophes that you're putting in your budget. Well, that's always been a vehicle repair budget line. Every year, something changes. But if we don't hear about it,
And the contingency fund says FH after it, and I thought that could be construed.
that was the new firehouse.
It was never delineated that way, and that's why I was thinking possibly it could pay for part of
At the end of the
this.
day, I guess it's not A, even supposed to be in there, but B, it's a line item. But line items don't matter. And then it doesn't even matter to me, news to me was our fire department budget is all part of the general fund, so it really doesn't matter.
Well, the taxpayers.
So why are we doing it?
The taxpayers vote on the Article 2 raise in taxes X amount of dollars. And therefore, yeah, you have line items, but you're voting on the entire budget is what the taxpayers vote on.
And everyone likes to see the
Of
spending
course.
be what
And
is
you like to-
suggested.
And you like to stay within your line items, because that's what planning is all about.
But without budgeting per department, you can't come up with a total figure anyway.
Right.
I do understand in that respect. Yes, I'm not that naive, but,
All right, so Connie, what are you doing with the boiler?
My understanding is we are looking at the Dead River contract, we are looking at the procurement policy, and
other types of heat.
researching possibly other types of heating. And we are looking to make a decision at the next, the first select board meeting in May.
All right, anything else, folks? We're about to wrap up this meeting.
Did the fire, an update on the?
I don't know.
it wasn't on the agenda. I don't know if you want it or not.
What is that you're gonna speak about?
Treasure discussion.
Oh, okay, I mean, I'm happy to add it.
I think you were supposed to report back on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to, but like I said, I didn't see it.
Well, you're on the agenda now.
Okay, so the good news, if you can find any out of that situation, is that we have gone from being a negative $14,000 owed to the general fund somehow down to around 1,300.
1,300?
Yeah.
So that is the good news, I guess. Before the meeting, Brian just made a whole bunch of copies so Elaine and Darlene can try to figure out why the receipts and registers and expenses and revenues don't exactly match up between our accounting and the towns.
The thing that concerns me is how we can go back to 2019 and say anything when we close our books every year.
Well, you know, that's a really good question, and apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, you were at the meeting, is that it shouldn't happen, but it can happen, but they don't want it to happen anymore. Does that pretty well sum it up? Like, it should have never been kept carried over and over and over, but it did.
Yeah.
And that they said, we don't want to see it like that anymore.
So it wasn't in the surplus or the deficit.
It shows on the books as a deficit.
Yeah.
But then deficits wipe out after every year.
Apparently not.
Deficits don't, you gotta come up with the money somehow, because you have
So-
to pay for it somehow, you gotta borrow money or something.
Just magic.
Yeah, so
They wouldn't close out our numbers in a deficit.
This is the problem, Rob. The budget last year, the board, not the board, but the treasurer, closed the books before having all of the receipts for the year of July, from before July 1st. And when that created spending in your new budget, that shouldn't have happened. You can keep the books, the person, whoever closes the books, can go almost, you gotta wait till almost the end of July to get all your bills, to get your heat, your Green Mountain Power and all that stuff. But you already know some of those numbers, you should be able to estimate how much, so then when they ask to set the tax rate, you have an idea what you have for a surplus. In other towns, that's why they vote on them at town meeting. They carry that surplus over and vote at town meetings to how to spend that money, and not just automatically take it out of that year's budget. It kind of floats 2 years, but then that also allows the town to have money before taxes to have to run a little bit, to keep books going. And also, you have, the board has the right to borrow money anticipating taxes. So you always have money from the next budget. It's
But we
just,
have the right to borrow money anticipating taxes on things that were voted for by the public.
exactly.
Yeah,
But that would be
not
that
just,
budget
not
year.
just
That would be that
willy-nilly
budget
for
year.
whatever we
Right.
want.
So at the end of the day, once they work through another reconciliation of the fire pond
Yeah.
and fire reserve, so they've got, that's what they're working to iron out now. They'll have, it sounds like a last number, somewhere in that $1,200-1,300 range, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That the board will have to decide how you want to pay for that. Do you wash it because it's 5 years old? Do you take some of our reserve fund, or our remaining from this year? Do you just take it out of the general fund? I mean, in the end, hopefully the number stays about right around $1,200-1,400. It's not a lot of money, so it's not like 14,000. But what it should do is start everything on a clean, zeroed slate going forward.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like, to me, it's like a 5-year reconciliation. Well, this should have happened 4 years ago,
Yeah.
but it didn't. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, it didn't.
Yeah.
Well, and if we start out on a new slate, we have to make sure things are being book kept correctly
And
to
that
not.
That is correct.
That was a source of the
But
issue.
in the treasurer's defense, I don't know, without hiring a full-blown accountant, with the way that they changed the rules and regulations and how you're gonna keep your books, I mean, my good God, how could you possibly?
Well, we spend $20,000 a year for an auditor every year, and that's what I go, well, why didn't an auditor see this?
And yes.
And we have.
Did we have the auditor in 2019?
That was one of the questions
that
asked,
would've been-
and the answer
that would've
was,
been
well, they
the time
didn't catch
when-
it, cause we're
It
dealing
was
with it.
COVID
I
time.
thought the answer was they did catch it and people just didn't catch it in the auditor's report. In any case,
Yes.
it's been mentioned at least 2 years now, and that's why we're acting on it now,
But,
and we're figuring it out.
yes.
But yeah,
Do you want us to give your take on that?
no, I mean, I think Glenn covered it really well. It's pretty much, we can cover this from the general fund balance, close the books at the end of the year, wipe out that deficit, and start bookkeeping it properly. And the main thing was just like the fire pond grants coming in from the state, coming in at a different time, but since it was tracked as a line item, it was just showing as a liability and not really accounting for monies coming later in the next fiscal year. And so that's why it's just kind of been carrying over year after year after
Where
year.
was the money carried over? If
The deficit?
in the deficit was.
Carry over deficits. I don't think you could carry, that wouldn't have happened. I mean, we would have cured the deficit before it would have
We
gone.
would have paid.
You wouldn't have rolled the deficit over year after year after year, I mean.
Well, if it's in the general fund, then it is part of a fund that consistently has surpluses,
And if
right?
it's something where reimbursements we're expecting are coming in the next fiscal year, then we're still kind of, and we're not tracking it appropriately from the get-go.
So it was
then
held
that's what
differently
keeps-
than a regular deficit.
You know,
Yeah, because regular deficits, the way I understand them, is the general fund pays for them, or the surplus helps you with your year's expenses.
it seemed like it was a bookkeeping issue.
And you gotta remember, that's back when we had a bookkeeper too. It was a bookkeeper, weren't we? Not necessarily had an active treasurer. And that did the books. And I always said, ever since we started having a bookkeeper, and I weren't part of this down then, that has always, when I was on the board in 2013, it was very confusing and having issues with finances. So.
So anyways.
I guess the good news of it all is, yeah, the numbers come way down considerably.
But that's kind of scary in itself.
Oh, yeah,
More
yeah, it is.
that quickly,
Oh, it is.
you know,
Well,
and who
we-
says that tomorrow it's not gonna be 27,000?
The number has
Oh,
changed
maybe
4
more.
times
Yeah, that's
since
scary.
this is.
Please don't go there.
Well,
I'm
just-
happy with it down around
Yeah, I mean,
the
I
hundreds.
see
Well,
that.
and part of it too was how expenses were being, to which account they were being billed, right? Whether it was something for the fire pond, or for the fire truck, or for general operating expenses. And so I think that was another reason why the numbers kept changing, because we're like, wait, this shouldn't have been.
Well, we found this over here, but it was put here. It's
Exactly.
there. It's just in so many different places. Yeah, thank God for Darlene, I guess.
So the next step, I don't think we'll do this today, but we just get the final numbers from Darlene and fire department. I'm assuming it'll come to you guys first before it comes to us. The final number as to like what the deficit needs to be covered, and then we would cover that in the fiscal
And
year.
then, yes, basically it sounds like the select board then has to direct the treasurer on how to, I call it zero it out, but
Yeah,
Darlene says that's not an actual term, but basically
And the
it'll
surplus
be
will be
wiped
fine.
out.
yeah,
And
spend the
surplus.
fund balance
Yeah.
down. on
So,
that. There was one other thing that was talked about, which was a CD for the fire department.
oh, yes.
Which that was kind of.
That comes actually, Elaine did hear back on the CD,
Yeah,
okay, which is the new fire engine pumper, whatever it was called. Basically the new fire truck reserve account. That was put in a CD to make better interest. I think it's getting about 3.5%.
3.25.
3.25%. She has to have direction on whether to roll that over.
From the select board?
But yes,
so
yes.
that matured today.
The second is the final deadline of when. Otherwise, it automatically M&T will just automatically roll it over.
Yeah.
Now the catch with that, or the thing I worry about with that, is a week ago talking with the dealer that we're buying the truck from. The new slated date is September of 2026. My worry is when we ordered the truck, there was like a 900-day lead time on it, which put us in this fall. What I'm worried about is putting that into the CD for a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
It gets locked in, and then there's a severe financial penalty to withdraw that early.
so is there a recommendation not to roll over the CD?
Well, there's a couple of different things you can do. You can, what Elaine did say, a 6-month CD is an option. I think that M&T said they had. You could take it out of the CD and put it in I think it might have been in a money market before. I'm not positive on that.
You can research the penalty. 'cause
You can
sometimes
look at
they're
the
not
penalty
too
versus the
severe.
interest gain and say, okay, it's a calculated risk that pays off, that we're gonna get less than 0.5% in a money market account, but no penalties for taking it out. But we're gonna get 3 1/4. There is one more alternative, and I don't know if this is something you'll wanna think about, is that like the down payment sits in an escrow account, which makes 5% interest. You could take it and put it into that same escrow account and make 5% interest. That's through E1.
That's a new account,
That-
not one that we have.
No, that's a E1, the dealer, the Sourcey Equipment, works with E1, who's building the new fire truck.
Okay.
They put that into they take your money, they insure it, they put it into this account that makes 5% interest.
Well, why wouldn't we do that?
They keep the interest though.
Oh, they keep the interest?
Oh, no. We get the interest. So far, as of last week, the down payment it made, I can look it up, but it's over $13,000 it made in interest.
So that's already in there, is what you're saying.
But you're saying.
The down payment is, you could take
The CD money.
and put it there too. I don't know if you want to do that.
I think it sounds like.
And that's what it's for.
Right, and then basically what would happen is when the truck's delivered, you gotta pay the other half.
Yeah.
The money would be sitting there, they can't touch the money until we all sign off that we accept the truck.
Do we, and I'm just asking this, I want to make sure the wording, do we have a reserve for the truck? That like we could.
Yes,
park
that's
it
the
on?
CD.
Oh, that is the CD. There's
Yes.
not like a reserve that we could park it and pull it out and. take
That's
it
the
to
problem when she listed it as a CD, those are reserve funds.
Yeah.
That was something that.
But I mean, whoever put it in the CD, I do give them credit for saying, hey, we can get a lot more money in interest. It's gonna sit there for 20 years. Why not? I mean, I applaud that effort.
Yeah.
And it's not a problem until it comes time to actually take receipt of that new truck, because he did tell me there's been a few other towns
Yeah.
that he went to deliver the truck, their money's locked up in a CD, he drives home with the truck.
Yeah.
Because if you don't pay for it, you're not keeping it.
Yeah.
Connie?
What's the timeline that the decision has to be made, given that the CD has matured?
May 2nd, you said?
May 2nd is the last day Elaine has to call M&T and say, roll it over or change it into
Can we
another.
make it?
What is the name of that escrow?
E1.
So,
It's through E1.
so technically, we would pay for the truck though.
Basically, you're paying, you basically are paying for the truck
That's what I mean.
That's right.
Is the only-
ahead of time.
This is the truck.
Well, I don't know.
Can we get any information on that?
Just to add, there was also a figure that Darlene had mentioned owed to the CD or owed to this account from the general fund, which was $11,931.04.
Now, that is why, if you look at the annual report, it shows us with $17,000 in the fire pond account. And I had some people at town meeting come up to me and say, Glenn, well, what are you guys doing? What do you mean? Well, you're asking for $10,000 to put into a fire pond account, you got $17,000. I'm like, we most certainly don't. Well, here it is. And you can imagine my reaction, because how did it grow from nothing to $17,000 overnight?
Yeah.
It is the leftover money from last year's budget sitting there because it would have had to be put into the CD this April.
Yeah.
So it's like just sitting there. I guess it's a safe place to put it.
It was what we voted last year to reserve that, to put it in with
The select
that.
board voted to roll over.
Yeah.
And she has to put the money.
But she couldn't just go put it in there until April came around.
Right, so she parked it.
So she basically parked it there.
Couldn't she have started a new CD?
That's the treasurer,
We
what
don't
I
ask
don't know.
for- Can we, who do we ask? Is it the treasurer or the fire department for the paperwork for us to look at for the
For the
I
escrow,
can have,
the escrow.
if you want that, that would be the same paperwork that we did before, but I will have the salesman send it to you because they handle all of
I
that.
have a question. If our next meeting is May 14th, then we need to close the CD by May 2nd.
You've got to be able to direct the treasurer by then, yes.
Right, so there's several things we could do. We could close the CD
Mhm.
and have it in the general fund account earmarked.
The
Oh my
pond.
God. I don't need to tell you about that
Yeah,
next
we'll throw
year.
it in the fire pond.
Throw it in the fire pond, okay.
But if we close the CD and have it ready to pay this escrow account, which I personally, as one person, feel is the best thing to do. We're giving the money there anyway.
You're gonna make more money.
And we make
Basically,
more money.
you're just paying upfront, but you're gaining interest until the truck is received.
But with the dates, the 2nd and the 14th, we would have to have a special meeting, and if we all sort of feel we know what we would do, why don't we instruct the treasurer to close the CD and have the money ready to pay towards, and we'll get that working, and then we don't have to worry about May 14th.
I think it's pretty quick to set up that, because you already have it there, it's already, I think that's a pretty quick process, but
What's the only thing we can't make a decision on when we go into that escrow? What are we looking for?
Well, if we can't move it right away, I think we should close the CD by the 2nd to not wait for
I think
another.
what Kay says, why not vote just to do this
Yeah.
escrow right now?
I was ready to motion.
Yeah, okay.
Glenn, you were saying we already have some money in the escrow
General
account.
payment.
We have a lot of.
yeah, 300, and, I wanna say like 300, actually, what you guys are thinking about, it's over 300,000.
So basically, if you did this, you would be paying for the truck in full.
Yeah.
And would we get some interest back?
Well, you might back to the town if you overpaid, right?
And he said that they have to sign off on the actual purchase of the truck after they take possession of it and look at it and make sure that they want it. So it seems low risk to me in that way.
So we have $357,070 in the CD currently.
357,000
Yeah.
in the CD, and then there's about 350,000 in escrow, right?
He's looking.
Okay.
So that, yeah, I just saw the number, the official interest earned was $18,548.44.
Cover up that 1,300. This was the year's.
And that,
But it matured today. So, we know what it is.
so Glenn, can I just ask a question? That 18,000 sits in the escrow
Yep.
and will go towards
Towards the truck.
bringing down the cost of the truck?
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
Which is, in a way, I mean, when you think about it, you can roll it over and make 3.5% interest, take the money out when the truck comes and give it to them. Or you can put the money in the escrow account, make 5%.
And so
And,
now just that next September.
well, that's the forecast. Right now, it's in their truck build sheet for next September.
So it will be a two-part. We will be closing the CD and paying the escrow account.
So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the treasurer or
Instruct.
direct the treasurer to close out the CD of the fire department reserve funds and move them into the E1 escrow.
Second.
That's the
Any-
fire truck
Fire truck.
reserve.
I was reading
Direct close.
on this, on the printout she gave us, it just says Town of Townsend Fire Department.
And then it cuts off, so.
So can you say
Oh,
again?
yeah.
So
Direct the
I
treasurer to close the CD and move.
and so on here it says Fire Department Reserve or Fire.
Well, that's supposed to be something separate. So
That's the one that matured today.
Okay, but I would just make a note that it's for the fire truck.
Okay.
But and it should be that full 357,
So-
right?
Right.
Fire Department Reserve CD,
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to direct the treasurer to
close.
close the fire department reserve CD that has $357,070.17 in it, that was put aside for the fire truck. And move those funds into the E1 escrow, that the down
Funds
payment
and
existed.
E1 escrow. And Rob seconded the
Yes.
motion.
Still second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, I think our meeting's over. I'll make the motion to adjourn unless anybody has anything else. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, we have a couple of things to sign, guys. I think these I signed.